Did you serve a mission?
No, I just served a mission for the cause of marriage. Is it approved? The hat approves.
Did he say pour more?
No, he didn't.
But you do have 3 kids. That's more righteous than me.
Yeah. I multiplied and replenished the earth a little bit better than you.
I know how it is, and if you've made a sinful choice like staying the night at your boyfriend or girlfriend's apartment, please do not rob the missionaries of the spirit by bringing that sin into the MTC.
No.
The prison tattoo I should get is...
So my high school dance move was this.
I always have people tagging Dan McClellan, so I'm picturing you and people in the comments at Dan McClellan.
He's like, let's see it. Well, yeah. It's not actually about the economics of not boning your employer's wife.
You did a good job on that.
I would like to be Mormon again. I don't like that. It's almost like you added that into Luz. Welcome back to my channel. I am Carah Burrell. Sometimes I go by Nuancehoe, and sometimes I invite very special authors, guests, content creators, and amazing humans into my home studio to have a little bit of fun and talk about just how Mormon we used to be. So welcome to the Mormon History Hoedown, Alyssa Grenfell.
Thank you so much for having me. And for the record, I'm going to guess I was more Mormon than you.
I think, judged by those pigtails, you probably were. I need to be wrangled in, judged by my t-shirt. So maybe familiar with Alyssa from her TikToks, from your Mormon Stories episodes from the last couple of days. Those are fantastic. But what I hope you know Alyssa from is the new book that you have already run to purchase. And it's called How to Leave the Mormon Church, an Ex-Mormon's Guide to Rebuilding After Religion. So Alyssa flew into town the last couple days, did 2 amazing Mormon Stories episodes. I listened to both of them. They haven't gone back and watched your Mormon Stories episodes. Absolutely. They're fantastic with John and Margie. So if you want to know how to leave the Mormon Church, I mean, subscribe to this channel, obviously. But if you want to know how to leave the Mormon Church, pick up a copy of this book. And if you want to know what 2 girls like us, how Mormon were we before we decided to leave the Mormon Church, that is going to be the topic of today's video. So we thought that we would run through all of the ways that me and Alyssa used to be very, very Mormon.
Very.
So we've created a list of about 20 things, how Mormon we used to be. And we are going to play a little bit of a game. So I hope everybody at home can join us and play that game too.
So we have 20 items, and all of them are kind of the 20 commandments of Mormon, especially for kids. We have a big long list here. So the game we came up with is we have the list of 20, and then if for whoever was more righteous, they get a point, and if you were less righteous, you get 0 points. So the goal is to have as many points as possible. So we'll see who comes out on top.
Well, like again, judging by Alyssa's pigtails, she probably is going to.
I mean,
win.
I'm showing my shoulders though, and you are very modest over there.
I could be wearing garments right now.
Molly, modest Mormon.
I absolutely could. So today's going to be a little bit a funner, sillier episode because we want to talk about all of the ways that we used to be very Mormon. I'm going to pull out the hat from Satan. Maybe it will have some suggestions of how we could increase our sin that we never banked on when we were Mormon and like kind of speed up the process. So that'll be kind of part of the fun game. So play along.
At the end of the episode, maybe we'll end by drawing a pentagram on the floor with our knives.
Yeah, I have a child we could sacrifice.
I left mine at home.
Well, that's your first mistake.
It'll be a less powerful.
That's not in the book. You forgot
Chapter
about.
11 is child sacrifice.
If you actually tear out all the pages, it creates a pentagram that you can just lay out.
If you read it backwards, it's the Devil's Prayer.
If you read it backwards, it has a really good recipe for pot brownies. Well, Alyssa, it's been so fun getting to know you as I set up my new studio and we chit chat as girls do. And the book is just so funny. It has different, like, literally how to order coffee, things that I would have killed for 4 years ago. So tell people why you wrote this book, what kind of like space you're trying to fulfill.
So as I left the church, I left the church before most of my friends, and in the years after I left, I had a lot of people reach out to me and say when I left the church that they were surprised and judgmental and all the things that you expect from an active member. But then when they were leaving, they needed support. And so they reached out to me. And a lot of them had really similar questions like how to navigate mixed faith marriages, how to get comfortable and not feel guilty when trying their first glass of wine. And just I saw a very similar pattern on the way out that people were going through. And two, I think there's a lot of Ex-Mormon podcasts. And when I left the church, was binging podcasts, binging as much content as I could find. But I would often have really specific questions about
like how to order coffee.
Yeah, like how to order coffee. And potentially I might be able to find a really old Reddit post, or there might be some things you could still find online, but I felt like I needed not just long form podcast content, but to be able to go to a really particular source and have a really particular question about one aspect of what it's like to leave the church. And so that's why I wrote this guide, which is not meant to be, read this book cover to cover, but meant to be, hey, I'm going to go and have this very particular question. And I tried to really concertedly cover any topic you might have a question about, at least in a very basic form, maybe at least a paragraph or two dedicated towards all these different topics, so that as people were going through their exit out of the church and having all of these same questions that I think people have, there's a way for them to access information too that's in a kind of impartial or safe space. Like a book is not going to judge you.
It's just encouraging people to really get an education and not telling them what to do like the church would. Like so much of us want to have a prescriptive guide of how to live our life, what's moral, what we should and shouldn't do, and this wild, wild west that we live in ex-Mormonism or any high demand religion. I think this book is also clearly for anybody. But I think wouldn't you say a lot of the theme is like learn, get educated, take the power back into your own hands?
My ultimate goal is for people to so healthy and fulfilled and just out experiencing the world on its own terms, that this book becomes irrelevant, and that they no longer need any content or anything to be able to kind of cope with life or to ask questions, that they're fully ready to move forward into this beautiful new life that they've discovered for themselves.
With cups of coffee that they have ordered very confidently. But you don't have to try coffee. You don't have to try anything. So much of, ex-Mormonism is trying different things like we're going to be doing today. I have a whole host of sins that we're going to just be parading ourselves from one to the other like a big buffet. I have a whole prop lined up. Just get ready. I giggle just thinking about it. So, but I love so much of what you said in your Mormon Stories interview about John and Margie haven't tried these things. A lot of people haven't tried substances or a million different things, but at least I think what you talked about, not operating from a place of fear and questioning where does that come up for me and why is it there? And then what do I really think about it? So I think you're a fantastic author and just speaker on all of these things. I hope that you stay in the Ex-Mormon space forever and ever. So please go support Alyssa's channel too, and her TikTok, YouTube, and anything else that she does in the future, and pick up this book. Now let's move into
the game.
The game music will go. Hannah Stoddard said that Joseph Smith didn't write the Book of Mormon from looking in a hat, and she was wrong. Unfortunately, Mormonism, it's not a true thing. And one way that we know that is because Joseph Smith, instead of running his hands over the golden plates and actually translating this ancient record of Reformed Egyptian, instead he just got his old hat from his treasure digging days, his folk magic days, placed his head in that hat, and apparently on the stone that was in there, he was able to
come up with this story of Moroni and Nephi and Ammon and
write a very compelling book. So what I like to do is apparently, according to some who don't believe that Joseph Smith did that, like Hannah Stoddard, Rod Meldrum, the faction of Tim Ballard, people over there, they say that this is actually a tool for Satan. So in special occasions with Alyssa over here, I like to pull out my tool for Satan, as an agent for Satan.
We could do 10 and 10, 5 and 5, 5, 5, 5.
Yeah. All right. Perfect. Okay. So, Alyssa, hit me with the first one.
Okay.
Dazzle me.
So this is probably, this might be we're both probably going to be able to hit this one. Were you baptized at 8?
Yes.
I was also baptized at 8. Did you have any feelings of guilt the day of? Did you have to talk about the law of chastity with your bishop? And I feel like I have a memory of my bishop, whether it was at 8 or 12, explaining the law of chastity to me, because I don't think my parents had explained it to me yet.
Gross. But I don't remember a whole lot from my baptism. I think it's just like a special day that's like your birthday on top of something else happening, and you get a little bit extra attention. And overall, you just feel like it's not really a choice. Now that looking back about what you're actually entering into, because they say like this is you becoming and like you're officially becoming a member of the church, and the bishop will invite you up and say like the newest member of the ward.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. And then you go up and you're like, who, me? And you get like a little spotlight. What do you remember from your baptism?
I asked my mom if it's like, Mom, should I, like, it seems like it's better to die at 7 than to risk being sinful at 8, because I remember so many stories about how kids under 8 go straight to the celestial kingdom when they die because they never sinned. And so I always felt like those kids were lucky because they never had to deal with this sinning aspect of life. They just go straight to heaven. So, you know, I asked my mom, really concerned, should I mean, isn't it better to die? And she was like, no, you're supposed to grow. You know, of course the mom's not going to say you should die, but I do think the logic holds up that if you can risk damnation, or the Mormon version, I know we don't believe in hell, but the Mormon version of damnation by becoming 8 years old, it just didn't seem worth the risk to me. So I felt like I was semi-suicidal, but in a kid way, not in in an adult way.
I was just like, let's have another party for me. And also there's something about Jesus in here. Okay. All right. Question 2.
Okay.
All right. We're even on that one.
Yeah, we're even.
So but you were more ready to die because you took the covenant so seriously. So I think the scale tips on that one. But
okay.
All right. That one's.
I'll take it.
So you take that point.
So Alyssa, righteousness index 1.
Sorry, I had to get more suicidal child thoughts. Damn.
That's on you. Did you ever watch an R-rated movie as a active Mormon?
Absolutely. I'm like a comedian since I was a child, and I feel like my parents, since I was the youngest, the rules were a little bit more relaxed. But my oldest brother, though, he wanted to watch a R-rated movie when he was 12, and my parents said the only way we'll let you do that is we're going to take you out to a restaurant and you have to eat the biggest salad on the menu, and then you can eat it. Then you can watch an R-rated movie.
What does that mean? How does it to cleanse your system?
My parents are like really like, I don't know, kind of hippie with
tracks.
My parents are like really hippie with their health. Like I never grew up with white bread in the house, and I had to eat like carob instead of chocolate. It's a whole thing.
You should have put that on the list, because my mom was pretty healthy, but we could have white bread.
Never. Sin of all sins. So it was like you have to do something and put a ton of vitamins in your body. But I had a lot of favorite R-rated movies growing up. But what about you?
I snuck one R-rated movie.
Did we put on the list? Did you watch? Is that on the list?
We have something about my list, but nothing about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't know if I want to answer this question. So my biggest confession will be the following.
Okay.
But there was a website that had like the scenes of lovemaking on a website from movies.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And I remember it's burned into my memory. There's this movie called The Sleeping Dictionary, I think, with Jessica Alba, which I found out she does have a body double in.
Okay.
And it was...
Oh, that is rated R. Okay.
It was seared into my memory. I'll put it that way.
Those are some...
And I watched only the bad scenes from a lot of movies one night and then immediately went and vomited, as you do.
Was it a curiosity watching, or was it a engaging watching?
It was a curiosity watching.
Okay.
It was, I think, when you're Mormon, sometimes you get sucked in and you are just in a vortex And it's like
a pornography vortex.
Does anyone relate to that? Like literally, like I'm not going to be touching myself or something. It's like I'm literally
No,
just
it's
like,
yeah,
because you know the second that you stop watching, that you're going to feel immediately guilty. So you're just like, your brain cannot physically
it's like
handle.
your eyes are glued and you're just like, I can't stop looking away. It's almost like watching the dumpster fire. It's not like a desire, you know, it's not like you're just like, what is
it's because it's
realm?
too shocking in a way. Yeah.
I relate to that.
Okay. Well,
so I think I win that one, I guess.
So you're 2 for 2.
2 for 2. I wonder if this game I'm just gonna win. Did you drink caffeine as a kid?
Like sodas?
Yes. Were you permitted to drink? Like
I was permitted to drink that, but not for those caffeine reasons, but because my parents were like Mormon hippies who didn't allow any kinds of sugar or anything.
You didn't.
I wasn't allowed to drink like soda, but I still would if it was available at my friends' houses.
Okay. So I was allowed to drink caffeine after Mitt Romney. Remember Mitt Romney was photographed with like Coca-Cola, not cocaine. And after that, the church came out and said caffeine is okay. Because previous to that, a lot of members wouldn't drink caffeine because they had never had a firm stance on it, caffeine and sodas. So I could have soda with caffeine in it after Mitt Romney, the Mitt Romney gate.
Wow. That is so fascinating. Like a prophet in and of himself.
Yeah. So maybe I think then probably you would win that one because it sounds like it was more of a restriction for you.
Yeah, it was about the health code, really. My parents were really strict on the word of wisdom on the health part of it.
A salad before an R-rated movie is hilarious.
Yeah. That's like,
my family was instances of eating healthy food before doing undesirable things.
My family was
Did your family like essential oils?
Yeah, for sure.
It sounds like an essential oils family.
My mom was a massage therapist, so.
Wow. See, this is how we differ in our brands of Mormonism, because my mom was not an essential oils mom, but I feel like that brand of health code Mormonism. Did you guys have restrictions around meat?
Yes. So almost everyone in my family was a vegan or a vegetarian at some point. So I was a vegetarian for 11 years of my life, from like 4th grade till when I got married. And we didn't eat pork. That was more of like a pro-Jew Zionism thing. I don't know.
Okay.
Talked about that in my other videos with my friend Lindsay, that like Jewish people have that one, right? That's the higher law. So like we didn't eat pork very much, I think.
My husband doesn't eat pork, but he just doesn't like the taste.
Well,
but maybe he
has other fine qualities, but gotta love bacon.
I love bacon. Okay, so I think you win that one because I think you were keeping more to the spirit of the law, which is
the word of wisdom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you date or pair off with someone before you turned 16?
Absolutely not. I made out with boys a little bit with my little boyfriends here and there.
Okay.
I played truth or dare with I was like a little tomboy. So I kissed boys, but absolutely not. And I was a very ugly child.
Was it a personal choice to do that? Or do you feel like that was because your parents were really pushing that on you?
I would have loved if somebody was interested in me at any age to date me. So I would have done anything for male validation. Just nobody was barking up my tree.
Okay.
I had I had a window in my childhood bedroom where I could get out onto the roof and run away to my friends' houses. So I could have really got up to some trouble if the offer was made, but it was never presented. Okay. So it
Except for the ones you made out with. So it sounds like it was presented somewhat occasionally.
Yeah, but I think my parents knew that that's not going anywhere.
They're like, if you'll have her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
What about you?
I did not pair off before I was 16, and I did not date so I didn't kiss or date anyone before I was 16. But then when I was 16, I had a semi-serious boyfriend, but not that serious.
Because like in Mormonism,
you're supposed to do group dates at 16, pair off at 18, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I did pair off a little bit.
I did group dates with people who I was just like, will you please go to prom with me? I'll pay if you'll. Just kidding. I went to like a couple dances in high school, but yeah, the rules within Mormonism are usually like, don't let boys ask you out to dances.
Yeah,
Don't do
so
anything like that until you're 16.
the guy I dated was the state president's son. So my mom for sure would have said you're not allowed to date anyone seriously, but my mom was always very like, oh, here's the exception to the rule because he's ordained within, I definitely was permitted to date him purely because he was the state president's son. Nothing to do with him as a person, but just because he checked the little like special box.
That's where.
So I think you win that one.
Oh yeah, I win it. I was just, there's so many boys, and I was like, I'm too righteous. Not for any stake president's son, not for the prophet's grandson. The prophet's grandson wasn't my ward too. And definitely not for him. Jacob ran for Utah County clerk, trying to make gay people not be allowed to marry on his platform. Still mad about that. Anyway, definitely would have dated anybody who wanted to have homophobic platforms in their future, regardless. I was open to anything, but it was, truth be told, I have a little bit of like trauma in my past. Let's not make this a downer episode. I think generally I was like, I don't even want to think about a lot of stuff about boys because I have like a righteous priesthood holder that's not a lame high schooler. Like I needed a mature man. I was like, I want to wait till I get out of high school to really put my emotions and like be in sexual situations, hypothetically, with somebody who is like a righteous priesthood holder who will like respect me. And I know that sounds like a contradictory thing, but we all have married a lot of really, all of us, all two of us in this room have all married men in the temple who were righteous priesthood holders who have left the church with us, and they are good guys. That's what I meant, is like I needed somebody who was a really good guy who's going to treat me really well. And so I didn't pair off until I was 19. I kind of needed to get out of the space where there's just a bunch of high school boys that I didn't trust.
So I was super naive as a Mormon kid. It's no shocker there. But so this is my first dating experience, right? And I'm making out with this guy.
Does he look like this? Can you imagine it now?
And just kissing. And very suddenly I hear that he makes this grunting noise. And he pulls away very suddenly and grabs a blanket from the couch next to him and looks at me and says, I think you need to go. So he grabs the blanket, puts it over his waist, and says, you need to go. And I, as a 16, 17-year-old, I'm just like, did I offend you? Am I a bad kisser? What? This is the first time this has ever happened. And he walks me upstairs. This is totally out of the blue for me, still holding the blanket, and almost pushes me out of the door and shuts the door behind me. And I was like, what happened? And it took me more than a year. It took me a long time to realize that he had obviously had a moment of lack of control and that he just was like, please get out of here because I need to clean up. And it was, I don't even know what to make of that story now, besides that it's just funny. And that I wonder what he makes of it somewhere off in the ether. I'm sure it's embarrassing, but as a Mormon girl, I think it's smart for you to be like, I'm going to hold off on that, because I think as a 16, 17-year-old, I was just very naive, So it's kind of funny now in hindsight. And for you prepubescent boys out there, I guess it happens. Seems like it's probably somewhat normal, but as a young Mormon girl, I was definitely taken aback.
I would have been riding a high for years if that was me. And then, like, I don't even need to date again. I've won.
You win. So, not just because of the group dating pairing off thing, but it sounds like you were just generally much more virtuous and to boys.
Okay. So that was 5. Is it time to sin yet?
We have one final competition or one final point to discuss. So I get 0 points on that one. and you get 1 point. So far, we are 2 for 2. This will be the tiebreaker. Okay. Were you married in the temple?
Yes. Were you married in the temple?
I was married in the temple. But how old were you?
So the younger that you are, the more you win, and I win this one.
You do, but I didn't get married in the temple because I was serving a mission.
Oh no! Judges, we need the judges tiebreaker. Okay, how are we going to decide?
Think how much you loved your temple wedding is how we decide. Were you like, I love that I'm wearing the temple robe during my ceremony, and I love the patriarchal grip, or were you like, this is weird and it's not my favorite part of my very special wedding day?
I definitely was super uncomfortable and was like, just get this over with, because I was so in love with my husband. I just was like, whatever I have to do to get married, to get to the pinnacle of success of being able to start our lives, be married, live together, have intimate relationships and all of that. I was just only really thinking about how I got to power through this, and this is what I got to do. This is what I got to do. But
do you have siblings?
Yes.
Are you on the younger scale?
I'm the youngest of all of my siblings, yeah.
So maybe we can decide by how righteous not just we were, but how righteous our family was. So of your siblings, how many were able to attend your wedding?
2.
Okay. Damn it. I also had
2 out of 5.
2 out of
judges.
3. So a higher percentage of my family was able to be there.
Oh, so you are more righteous. Here, I know something about you, though, from listening to your Mormon Stories interview, where didn't you say that you were really uncomfortable with the way that women had to covenant to their husbands as God covenants to God? I didn't have a problem with that.
I think I hated my temple wedding more than you hated yours. I specifically was rushed on my wedding a lot, and that really bothered me.
Rushed how?
Like the temple workers were coming and saying, we've got another bride coming in a few minutes. We need you to hurry up and have your family leave this room because we need the room. And I just really wanted to explode on that person, because the idea that you would be rushed and made to feel like you're a burden on your own wedding day within the temple is ridiculous.
However, on my wedding day, I was able to wear my wedding dress for the ceremony, because sometimes if you have sequins or different things, like you can't wear it. So I was able to wear mine. I had to put sleeve inserts into my wedding gown, and they were like this. It was like this bright white, silvery, like reflective. It was the most hideous sleeve inserts I had to wear, and it was all frumpy, and I felt hideous in my wedding dress with this stupid. It was like,
I'm sure it made
and it was small, and it went like to there, and I was like, it's not even going to my wrist like it's supposed to. And then as soon as I saw my husband, it was like a movie, and I was just like started crying, and we were so in love, and we were like outside the celestial room, and the sealer came over, and he was like, we were just beaming, we were smiling so big, getting ready to like walk everyone into the ceiling room, and he's like, I have never seen a couple smile so much before their wedding, and I was like, it's true, we are like really excited to get married and bone. And so I all of the things about the wedding were all on the sidelines, and I didn't care about anything except for just like me and Aaron. We were so in love.
I feel like you win more. I feel like you were more righteous. You're more like covenanted.
We didn't say how far we went before we got married.
Well, that's another point.
Is that a different one?
That's a different point. So
okay, stay tuned.
Separate from the temple wedding.
So I was willing to just do whatever, because in my Mormon Stories episode with John, the first one that I did, he asked me, he's like, did you feel uncomfortable about like the covenanting to your husband? And I literally said to him, I was like, no, you know what? Like, I was like an anti-feminist up until a couple of years ago. So like mostly my brain went like, my husband doesn't have the power to like tell me what to do as soon as he's not like in line with covenants with God. So tee ha ha ha, like it's all canceled out. So like it didn't really bother me. Now as a ex-Mormon, I can see the discrepancy. But like anything that was really a problem with the temple, I was willing to just be like, yeah, whatever they say, that's the way that it's supposed to be. I got to get on board with it.
Did it bother you? Because it really bothered me that I had to tell my new name to my husband, but he didn't tell his name to me. That got under my skin.
No, because my new name was Rachel, and I was like, God loves me. He gave me the name from the most beautiful character on Friends. So I felt very blessed.
Mine was Ada, which I liked. Alyssa, Ada, Alyssa. Yeah. The A's. That felt inspired.
I think
I would go more towards you because it seems like you are more comfortable with the covenants and more comfortable with the ceremony.
Oh, I got an easy way.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think the way is who was more on a scale of 1 to 10, who was more of a feminist on their wedding day? Me or you?
Me. Okay, let's settle it this way. On the count of 3, on a scale of 1 to 10, how uncomfortable were you about the temple ceremony? 10 being very uncomfortable, 1
the endowment?
The temple ceremony, the temple wedding, like the,
How uncomfortable as it was happening?
Yeah. So we'll say on the count of 3.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how uncomfortable?
Like the day of your wedding, you're like sitting with the patriarchal grip up, in your temple clothes.
Can we kneel and try to recreate it?
So far away. How uncomfortable are you? So, and this is, putting yourself back in the mind of a very believing member.
And not trying to be like, now I'm uncomfortable and I wish that I was able to do something totally different.
Back. Do you want to say on count of 3?
Yeah.
Okay. 1, 2, 3,
4.
Okay.
I was crying the entire time. I was so in love with my husband. So I'm like, nothing made me uncomfortable. I was just like high on love.
Okay. You were more righteous.
Okay.
So that means that so far you have 3 righteousness points and I have 2 righteousness points.
So that's the 5th one. So now I'm going to look into the hat and it's going to tell us what sin I have to do next as an agent of Satan. This hat and me, we work together very, very well. It says take a shot of 5 Husbands vodka with Matt Easton and a bunch of other drag queens and various gay people on the cover of it. So it's kind of it's more sinful than your average vodka can really get. And I really hate alcohol more than your average ex-Mormon does.
Really?
So I'm not happy about this. The hat is it wants me to be miserable like unto itself. So this isn't like a good thing here. If you make it big, I'll kill you.
How's that?
Perfect. Is it approved? The hat approves.
Did he say pour more?
No, he didn't. I love how you're assigning a gender to a hat.
He has masculine energy. He's bossy.
Yeah. I don't know. Could be kind of like a boss babe bitch of a hat too. I'm drinking this with a chaser out of my very own Nuancehoe Mormon History Hoedown mug. Get yours now.
Drink, 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 drink. You did a good job on that shot.
I would like to be Mormon again. I don't like that. Oh, all right. Next.
What if you drink 4 shots? What if you're the most righteous every time?
I didn't know that my previous righteousness would come with future alcohol poisoning, but that is kind of the way that it usually plays out. So like your book says, just get educated and we're just going to have to slow down how much we go through this. And I can only metabolize a shot an hour. So we just have to speak
We're going to have to take
slower.
a very long break. The next question is, this is number 6. Did you have sex before you were married?
No, not because I was scared of boys necessarily, not because I didn't want to, mostly because I just wanted to be better than other people. But what about you?
Did you have anything almost like sex with your husband before you got married?
No, I think we were pretty good. It's hard talking about this stuff in hindsight because you wouldn't want to shame like what you did do or like, people who didn't do those things. But like at the time, I was really committed to getting married in the temple. And because of the past that I had, I was really specific about who I shared my body with, even though I wanted to experience those things. I was really, really careful about what I did and who I shared my body with. But my husband and I, our entire engagement, neither of us really had jobs. We got married as quickly as we could. And we literally just like I lived at his mom's house. We lived at different bedrooms, and we just spent every day together talking about what we wanted to do in the future. And like nothing was taboo. And
So you talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of stuff. We got each other's emotions aroused. We made out a lot and we laid on top of each other. So we never did anything where like we touched any parts of each other's bodies or anything like that. And there was only one time where the conversation ended up with me needing to go take a moment in a casino bathroom while we were on a road trip, needing to go to the bathroom.
Take care of
in a casino bathroom, and him wondering why it took a half an hour, and me wondering why it took a half an hour too. The lighting, the ambiance was not what I was used
in a
to.
Bathroom.
Yeah, so that's the most risky of a behavior I engaged in. What about you?
Yeah, so I also did not have sex before my wedding, which I was very proud of. I remember I did have, because I didn't live in Utah growing up. And so I had a lot of non-member friends who I would chat with about these sorts of things. And I remember they called me a unicorn because at 23, I had still never experienced sexual relations. And they were always very impressed, but also not impressed by my lack of experience. So yeah, I did not have sex before my wedding. We kind of similarly had like conversations, or there were like moments where we were like, huh, no, we have to wait. Especially in the week before our wedding, things got a little hot and heavy. But never always clothes on, It was we kept it pretty PG, But then of course the church says the guidance from the church is you're not supposed to kiss your significant other pre-marriage, unless you would kiss them like that in front of your parents, which when you're 15, or I guess when you're older than 15, growing up from 12, you consider that only kiss the opposite sex how you would kiss them in front of your parents. So when you're picturing that as a kid, you're like, I wouldn't kiss anyone in front of my parents.
Yeah, there's literally a book. I made a TikTok about that, of like, make it a sexless kiss is what the leaders say.
Yeah.
Like from a father to a daughter or a mother to a son. And I'm like, nobody's doing that. Not even the most righteous.
Forehead kisses, I guess.
Yeah. Butterfly kisses. That's my dad's favorite song. I just thought I'd add that in.
Yeah.
I'm going to give my husband butterfly kisses.
My favorite
after bedtime prayer.
My favorite line from Butterfly Kisses, so there's several verses, right? And in the verse about her wedding, she's like, the dad, I think, says, I'm only gonna kiss you on the cheek this time. And you just are like, so you've been kissing her on the mouth this whole time until her wedding day, and now you're just gonna kiss her not on the mouth? I mean, that's a lot for a dad to be kissing his daughter on the mouth.
I'm going to have a conversation with my father about his favorite song now. Anyway.
Reference that line with him just so that he can consider the implications.
Mm-hmm. Butterfly kisses after bedtime. Drinks and karaoke go hand in hand, don't you guys know?
Little white flowers.
I could talk endlessly about what I did and didn't do before I was married, because it was a whole minefield
living under the same roof sounds very difficult. Because once everybody's in bed, you're like, are you still up?
Nope. Because there's twice where my husband and I went, because he was a comedian, and so we traveled sometimes while we were dating to different comedy shows. There's a couple times where we were on road trips, and one of them we were in Mesquite, one of them we were in Idaho, and then the rest of the time we were together, we were at his parents' house, but sleeping in different bedrooms, and we never fell asleep in the same bed together ever, was like one of our rules. And I was like, absolutely, I have not worked this hard in my entire life to like control this for me to like lose my virginity in Mesquite in like a 1-star hotel. So it was more just like a not this way, not how I imagine it.
I can really relate with that, and it's so funny that you say we're not going to fall asleep in the same bed, because that reminded me of me and my husband. So we obviously lived in two different apartments, But I would go, you know, as you do, I would go over to his apartment and we'd be watching a movie and it would be late and we would never have sex, but we'd definitely fall asleep in the same bed. And at that time I was working at the MTC. So I'd like be staying the night at my boyfriend's apartment. Totally PG, but just sleeping next to each other. And then going to the MTC in the morning and just feeling so guilty. And I remember this one MTC like we'd have these training conferences where they have a leader come and talk to everybody, and he was like, I know how it is, and if you've made a sinful choice like staying the night at your boyfriend or girlfriend's apartment, please do not rob the missionaries of the spirit by bringing that sin into the MTC. And I remember just being like, whoa. And I, you know, when you're Mormon, you think people really can perceive that you've sinned.
Totally.
And he would look at me, and I just had this spooky sense that he could tell that same night before I had stayed the night at my boyfriend's apartment, even though we hadn't done anything. We just watched a movie and then fallen asleep. But oh, my spidey senses were tingling. But then, you know, even if you think that they perceive that you've done something, they never pull you aside because they don't perceive you've done anything. They just give you the eyes and assume that if you have, you'll come forward.
That's funny. That reminds me of my husband's late mother. She had such a beautiful soul, and I love her so much. And there was a time where my husband and I were like he was laying on top of me on our big like love sack. We still have it. And she wanted to say something because like if you're gonna make out, you gotta lay on top of each other. Like you're not gonna just side to side. It's just that's boring. So it's like most of my engagement for 3 months. We got engaged on September 7th and married on December 18th. So that entire like 3 months, we were just in horizontal position for most of the time, talking and making out and talking and making out and just all of those things.
I got married in December 19th.
Oh my gosh.
Very similar anniversaries.
Patriarchal grip to you, sweetheart. And his my mother-in-law walked in and saw us laying on top of each other in the love sack. And she wanted to say something very indirectly, as a sweetheart does. And she goes, honey, Aaron, you're squishing her. And we're like, okay, we get the point. All right.
She looks a little flattened.
Oh, I'm not flattened. I'm very much filled with blood.
Very engorged. Okay, well, I don't know how we're gonna solve this.
All right, so
what about we can do it because we're pretty similar. We'll do it the same with the temple wedding. We could say on the count of 3 how badly you wanted to break the rules over in the month before your wedding.
Oh,
like how close.
1,000 out of 10. I literally talk about it in like terms of trauma. Like it felt like somebody died in my family when I think about it. It was so painful.
How close you were to breaking them. Like
I never would have though.
In your brain, like how close you were to just being like, let's just go.
I don't know. It's a paradox because it was 1,000 out of 10 how much we wanted to, but it was a 0% chance that I would have done anything because I was so.
Then I think I'm closer because I would rate myself like a 2 or 3. Like I was like, I think I was closer to letting it happen.
Okay. More righteous Carah. Ding, 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 ding.
You're going to take another shot though. Okay.
Can this video and me being able to run the switcher board here in my new studio, can this professional podcast continue with my previous righteousness being called into the circle to now be combated with alcohol? It seems like a lot. It seems like I should have been more sinful if I wanted to run an Ex-Mormon podcast professionally.
Yeah. I mean, so far you are winning, which is surprising because you said I had pigtails, which meant I was going to win. So
yeah, you walk in with pigtails like that and it's like, well, all right, Anna Green Gables, did you bring me some jam
jam and white bread because you need more white bread here, apparently.
Oh,
okay. This is number 7, did you wear a bikini as a Mormon youth?
I want to hear your answer first.
Why? Does that change your answer?
No, because I've been answering all of these first.
Okay, that's fair enough. I never wore a bikini till I left the church, and even after I left the church, I wore a one piece out of comfort reasons for maybe 2 or 3 years after I left the church. I was very anti bikini. It was very, I don't think it wasn't, I wanted to wear a bikini, but I think I was very intimidated by it for a really long time.
What about it? Just that much
Showing
skin?
skin.
Because it does feel like you're wearing your underwear outside at first.
A little bit, yeah.
And then you're like, good, I feel like great.
Yeah, I think it was the stigma, and I think it was feeling not comfortable in my own body for sure. It's like a lack of confidence. Like after I left, I was done with the this is a sin, but I was still I'm not comfortable in my own skin.
Was that messages from like Mormonism that you still had to kind of deconstruct about like your purity and things like that?
Yeah, I think so. And I think I just don't like creepy dudes.
Yeah, you are giving a lot of people kind of a free show sometimes. Yeah. Like,
especially if you just go to a random pool, you're like, you have to make the choice between I'm doing this for me because I like wearing this versus like other people are going to take this and run with it. So I have to just be okay with that being a reality of me choosing to wear this.
That's how I feel as well. I'm like, it's actually kind of a fun aspect of deconstruction to wear a bikini in public because like, I know you talked about in your Mormon Stories episode about how like, you know, you're conditioned to think that men can't control themselves or whatever. And I'm like, there is an aspect of like, I know men are going to have some sexual thoughts about me, but like, not my problem. And I'm going to wear what I feel comfortable in. And mostly I just really want to tan the most parts of my skin. I want to get some skin cancer as quickly as possible. So
amen to that. I also will say, I think that when other women are more comfortable in their skin, like when other women wear bikinis, it makes it feel more like you have permission to wear bikinis. Like when we went to Spain on vacation, everyone there wears string bikinis, even 80-year-old women.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of women are topless at the beach, and it's so normalized that even, you know, there's no age at which women start covering up. You know, you'll see a 20-year-old with no, you know, topless 20-year-old, topless 30-year-old, topless 40-year-old, topless 80-year-old. It's just like the female body is so normalized that everyone gets to dress like that because it's no longer sexualized in the same way. And I think that that's also why I like to wear bikinis or wear tank tops or whatever, because I think when you see other women doing it and feeling safe to do it, it kind of gives you permission to do it yourself.
Yeah, and it's kind of like your chapter that you explained in the book about how Britney Spears, she is wearing this type of clothing and she is perceived in this way. If I dress in that kind of way, I'm perceived that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think and that's why I really love listening to, you know, Doja Cat. I'm a big fan. Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, all of these women who
have high heels on their tippies.
Yeah.
Dolce and Gabbana like, on their titties, right?
I'm going to shove my sexiness in your fucking face. Like the Anaconda music video. I remember I don't know if you've ever seen that. The first time I watched that as a kid, I was like, turned it off, you know, pretty quickly. But I think sometimes women owning their own bodies and saying, I'm going to dress like this, and feel free to save this video, feel free to be disgusted by this video, do whatever you want with it, but I'm going to do this, is very empowering. Whether, you know, I do those things or not, when I'm on a run and I see another woman running in a sports bra, I feel more like, oh, I can run in a sports bra too, because it makes it so that the female body is just like men, just a body.
Yeah, I absolutely learned that lesson when I was 19. I had a very transformative summer where I like didn't really go to college. I went to UVU for a year, but I didn't have any kind of typical like living with roommates experience. I just graduated high school, was nannying, lived at home, went off for this summer to go work at this camp in Western Massachusetts. Had a summer where I was able to live around people from all over the world, different counselors and stuff. And that was the summer where I did a lot of non-Mormon things for the first time. And I bought a bikini like a month before to go on a road trip with my friends to California before I went to this camp, and we all bought bikinis, and we're like, let's wear bikinis when we go to California. And we're like, yeah, and we all went on the Delia's website together in like the BYU library and bought it. And
Amazing.
and then one of my friends was like having second thoughts. She's like, no, it's still a sin, even if it's fun. And I was like, you're right. And so we didn't wear a bikini.
Okay.
But I brought it to camp because I was like, I know I shouldn't wear it, but I probably am going to want to. And then for the first couple of weeks, everyone around me, all these other girls, all these other counselors, I was just stuck out like a sore Mormon thumb of like,
you had the one.
I didn't do anything. Like the first time I went inside the lake, I had like big old board shorts on, you know?
Aww.
And then my friends I was like, I have a bikini. They're like, get it out already, you know? And then the rest of the summer, all bets were off for me. And then I pretty much only wore a bikini top. I didn't even wear clothes the rest of the summer. It's so hot and humid. So I only wore a bikini top and short shorts.
Congratulations to me for being more righteous than you.
Because you never wore a bikini, but I did. That one summer got me. That one summer.
So sorry about
Camp
that.
Ramaka. All of the other following things I think you're going to ask are all going to be like that summer when I was 19 at camp. I did all the sinning. I got it all packed into 2 months.
Did you get okay, the next one, number 8 is, did you ever get any other piercings besides the 2?
Nope. I am absolutely unpierced.
Still right now?
Yeah. Not a single piercing. Actually, just kidding. I do have regular earrings that I got when I was 8, but I never really wear earrings. So they're basically like sealed over. So no tattoos and no piercings for me.
Okay. I didn't get a second piercing till I left. So, but I also wasn't allowed to get these ones pierced till I was 12.
Oh, because I got them pierced when I was 8. So
that seems sinful to me. Was there ever any guidance around when you were supposed to be able to get a piercing given?
As soon as you got the Holy Ghost, then that pierces your soul, and you get to have a symbolism of Christ on your ears.
The sure sign of the nail.
Yeah. Just piercing you to the cross.
Because my mom always made it sound like the rule was 12. But now I'm second guessing that maybe she just was making that up.
I am going to hypothetically say all rules are arbitrary and made up by somebody. No, anyway.
Well, what do you think?
I think the fact that you have piercings now means that it was on your mind for so much longer when it was absolutely not on my mind at all.
That's true. I always wanted a lot of piercings and tattoos. So I'll take it. I'll take the win. The next one is not necessarily a Mormon commandment, but is very common within Mormon culture. And it is, did you marry your first serious boyfriend?
Yes.
No, I did not.
So,
which I don't know how we're categorizing serious boyfriend. My boyfriend in high school that I already referenced, the stake president's son.
He gotta keep shoving that in my face. My first serious boyfriend that I married was a stand-up comedian. So, like, in terms of Mormonism, that's like the somebody who came home early from his mission, service stateside.
Did he really?
So yeah, like this is the bottom of the barrel in terms of Mormonism. Oh, so foreign.
But I served stateside.
So he
married down.
He married down. Ouch.
Womp for him. Yep. Okay. How long did you date him? You kind of already said that, didn't you?
I always love to go over the dates. I love specificity. I met him May 2008 at a comedy club. So in a place of sin, technically. I didn't meet him in a very holy environment.
Did they serve drinks in that comedy club?
Oh, big time. So I was in a Sodom and Gomorrah environment, first of all, but I could tell he was Mormon. I was Mormon. So we picked out the Mormons that were available in the entire club. I met him May 2008. Then I went to work at that camp, this summer camp, got up to some sinning. He was very disappointed in me, but he wanted to still bet on me that I would eventually be righteous enough to marry. Came home, had some repenting to do. I got home August 19th. We got engaged September 7th, married December 18th. So from May to December was our entire knowing each other.
I mean, that sounds pretty righteous.
Yeah.
It sounds like you received revelations about each other.
I think the revelations, again, were mostly in my pants. but we didn't even get into gay stuff in our list. That was the time that I made out with a girl at camp while I was drunk.
Okay.
So I was very off the deep end of being Mormon.
I didn't know where I should put anything gay on our list.
I got enchanted by a seductress into the woods to make out with her while I was drunk when I was still technically a believing Mormon. So that's a really not Mormon thing to do, but I was very aware of how not Mormon it was, and I was like, I'll repent later. But I didn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
That's what counts. I didn't enjoy it.
How do you know, though? I mean, if you were intoxicated, maybe you were repressing.
I still know consent. Fun fact, even if you're intoxicated, you still are like, I didn't consent to this situation.
Fair. Do you want to talk about that more?
Do you want to be my therapist?
You are more righteous because I had several serious to semi-serious boyfriends before I served a mission. And then when I got back, I married my husband. So you get the point.
I don't know, but also you were taking it more seriously. You probably had your shit together and your pigtails were
oh my gosh
tight.
I think we've already discussed this enough to know that you got the point.
Okay. Just again, people were not barking up the tree, so it's not like I had a lot of options.
And we are 2 for 2 once again. You have 2 points, 2 righteousness points. I have 2 righteousness points. The last question is, how many times did you read the Book of Mormon, we'll say, before you turned 18?
Are we counting all the way through?
This is cover to cover.
Oh, that one's tough.
And I know we might have to kind of, piece together. That's a lot to remember.
I would say like
should we say
1.5 for me?
Okay. I would say it's probably 3 or 4 for me. For those 5, I win. It says to find a shot glass.
I actually have
some vodka.
I actually have I don't have a shot glass, but I do have this cough syrup glass for you. Okay, you can have my shot glass.
Yeah, should we share a shot
This actually used to be a Quit Mormon shot glass until it got rubbed off. So whatever that means. Use a metaphor.
Manufactured in a place that didn't have very high quality manufacturing standards. I am taking this shot, which is going to possess me with the spirit of the devil. And if I murder you, then at least we know it wasn't because I wanted to. It was because we invited the devil here.
This is going to get great views. I'm excited for what comes. Exciting. Yes. Hoping for that.
Know what the afterlife is like.
We're also weaklings. Does everyone take a chaser, or is that, I don't even know. I'm not Ex-Mormon enough to know.
I prefer having one just because, why not?
I love a little lime juice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not a good
Have you ever
host.
done pickle shots?
No.
You chase it with a shot of pickle juice.
That sounds great.
That's my favorite. Okay.
Ugh. Delicious 5 Husbands vodka.
That's what it's like to have 5 husbands, I guess.
That's a good joke. It's not if they're Matt Easton like that.
All right. This is number 11. We're halfway through. Did you masturbate as a kid?
What else would I be doing?
Kids have a lot of free time.
I didn't do much besides that, to be honest. Big old into that scene. Really? I knew all of the ways and things. Really had a fun time there.
Okay. So the answer for me is no.
All right.
A big no. Sorry.
And the game should really be over because somehow the difference of scales on that.
You get I get 5,000 righteousness points and you get negative 5 million.
Yeah, that's about, I don't want to go into a lot of stories, but truth be told.
Would you like to share stories or should we just leave it at that?
I mean, it's funny being a content creator in the ways that I am now, where it's like, let's talk about Mormon history. I want to talk about this aspect of the history. But part of my personal history is to talk about how I had a really rough childhood. It really awoken me to what my body could do. And when I hit puberty in 5th grade, I was really had an intense relationship with just different faucets of my bathroom shower. So really was aware of that. And I think that also really helped me not break any like rules of chastity getting married, because I felt like I
got
had
this under control.
I felt like I had a deal with God where he understood in terms of this, Carah, there's no free will. Do what you got to do. Just don't do anything that'll rock you off the deep end. Find your righteous priesthood holder.
Just
you
rock in another direction.
Yeah. Yeah. So I felt like that was my gift throughout my teenage years.
Did you ever tell a bishop?
No, never.
Okay.
I was like, they asked
just because you knew not to say anything. Like
Yeah.
you were like, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, it was between me and God, and whatever I named the faucets in my bathroom. Like it was a really
you found something.
It was diverse. A lot of different
optionality.
It's not fair because men are just like, this goes in my hand and it's done. So I think it takes some time for girls to figure out how those things work. Sometimes,
you know, men are really lucky in that way.
They get their own
all on
park.
The exterior. So easy. It's all easy to see. It's like God made women to be like, I can't even. I have to learn gymnastics if I want to figure out.
I have to like clean and dishwasher safe different things. So Alyssa was definitely more righteous on that one, but I still think regardless, I had such a tight relationship with God in ways you didn't, that he was like double thumbs up.
I received an impression. Is that what you felt like?
I received that multiple times a day. Yeah. There's not a question in my mind.
Maybe that does show you the most righteous, because God never loved me like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, something to think about.
All right, number 12. How often, and this is to me, one of the most righteousness markers, like this is a high righteousness, is how often did you attend the temple after you got your endowment?
Sparsely.
Why?
I thought that it was all of the things that I didn't like.
But you said you didn't mind covenanting to your husband.
Well, for one,
that seems incongruent with our previous
conversation. I wasn't just like excited to wake up every morning to be like, can I go do that again? I had a lot of bad temple experiences.
I mean, the temple is pretty boring too. That was my biggest reason for not wanting to go, is like the endowment takes a long time. It's like 3 hours. I don't know if it's shorter now. It's like, that's like the longest movie of your life is sitting through the endowment. And it's the same every time. So it's not even like you're getting further light and knowledge. You're just sitting through the same ceremony. And so that's a drag.
Because I love to do baptisms before I got married. That's a fun thing to do with your like high school friends, college friends. Yeah. Like, what do you want to do today? Like, let's go to the temple and go do baptisms. It actually was like kind of like a free, fun activity.
I would do that a lot at BYU as a hobby.
Yeah. And like me and my best friend in high school, whenever we were hanging out and get some food, we would go park in front of the Provo temple and just sit in front of the temple. So like my heart was in the right place up until I went through the endowment. So then once it's like, you know, baptisms, you can't do that anymore. If you're going to go to the temple, you don't just sit there to look at it. You need to go do the ceremony.
Into the temple.
Yeah.
Into the heart of Sauron.
Yeah. And my husband and I kind of didn't go a whole lot. We probably went like 3 times a year.
Damn.
I was Mormon for like 11 years of my adulthood, and we probably went like 3 times a year.
So wait, how long were you married?
I got married at 19, and then I left at like 30.
So you would only go 3 times a year?
Yeah.
Wow.
But Alyssa was a temple worker, so
maybe I added this to the list because I knew it would bump up my score. So my husband didn't like the temple very much either, which is funny. I mean, he was returned missionary. But I would like, once we got married, I'd be like, Jackson, we should go to the temple. And he'd be like, we could always stay home. And be like, that's not the right thing to say, though. You're supposed to say, yes, wife. I was thinking the same thing. I was actually always hoping he'd be the one that would be like, I got an impression today. We should go to the temple.
Yeah, there's a lot of conditioning
that
to be like, my husband should be leading us better. Why should I even say, I'm not going to the temple until you suggest it? There, now I don't have to go.
I'd always be hoping that he'd be bringing up that we should be saying couple prayer together and couple Book of Mormon reading.
This is bringing up a lot of things about how much anger I had at my husband for not leading our home with the priesthood power more.
I was leading the priesthood with my femininity because I was the one always bringing these things up, and he'd always say yes, or he'd say maybe like, oh yeah, maybe we could do that next weekend, and then the next weekend would come and no suggestions would have arisen from his corner. So I'd be like, do you remember when you said, after I said we should go to the temple? So yeah.
But what we did do a lot was, instead of doing endowment sessions, when we did go, we always did sealings, because that was just, you go straight there, you get to look at each other, you get to be in the patriarchal grip across from each other. I didn't like how much it made my back hurt, because you do have to kneel for like a half an hour, and I would be in screaming pain, and then the old people would come in and they get a chair to sit in, and I'm like, okay, if it's not necessary to kneel, may I have a chair as well? And that would be a preference. I never did washing and anointings, but you said that you signed up to do.
Yeah, so when I was a temple worker, I would be a veil worker, or I would do washing and anointings. So those are my two options. But that also, I was a temple worker before I got married, because once I got married, I moved out of my stake and out of the temple boundary. So I wasn't able to do temple work anymore.
I was going to say, if we needed a tiebreaker, we should do who can say the script from the temple, but you would definitely be able to get that.
I wish I could still remember it, but I it's so many words, especially even the washing and anointing. That prayer is really long, so I don't have it memorized anymore. But
I was hoping that that's where this podcast was going, that I'd be washed and anointed by now.
I happily gesture to your loins if you have a shield.
Can we use this?
The little white.
This is how we cover ourselves instead of the fig leaf apron. We fashion a coat out of skins with this is actually from South Africa.
I win
for sure.
So when we were married, we'd go about once a month. So 12 times a year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a big
Eve being
true and having been true and faithful. Now desires to
converse with the Lord through the veil. Let her enter unto him.
Strengthen the Lord's and his power be upon me and upon my posterity throughout all time and throughout. Yeah, I'm halfway there. Okay, we're turning away from the temple to talk about seminary.
I win. No one can beat me on this. I love seminary. Ask your question.
Early morning. Okay, so the question is, did you sleep / not pay attention / zone out during seminary?
No, I hate most subjects of school, everything. Because when you're really Mormon and you're like, this is the most important subject in the entire world. So of course not at all. And I actually took, I lived in Provo, Utah, where they have, release time periods throughout the day. My senior year of high school, instead of like taking off the first period, like a lot of seniors do, I signed up for 6:30 early morning seminary because there's an extra class for people who took a lot of electives. So I went on purpose. Instead of going to school at 7:30 in the morning, I had a 0 period. Okay. And I went and I memorized all of the scripture mastery, raised my hand, because it's like the most important subject in the world. And I wanted to be really good and know everything. And I harshly judged anybody who, I hated those kids who would there was a kid who once I saw flip open the Book of Mormon to some random chapter. We weren't even in the Book of Mormon that year. We were in the New Testament, you guys. And he flips it open and just to put his head down on it, as if that makes a difference.
Like the scriptures are a pillow.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is the most important thing in the world.
That boy. Wow.
So I love seminary.
I'm shocked by your love of seminary, considering your lack of love for the endowment ceremony.
Night and day. Because that's the whole thing about Mormonism that we've talked about. And you've talked about in your Mormon Stories interview, that it's important to talk about the temple because most people don't know that's what Mormonism is. Yeah. So teenagers, they don't recognize that endowment ceremony as being part of Mormonism.
There's always so many kids, especially because TikTok has such a young audience. So I have so many TikTok youth who you can tell by their profile picture, they've likely not been through the temple. It's always someone that looks like they're 15 or 18 or whatever. And they'll say, well, why are you spreading these lies? These are lies. And you're like, oh, you sweet summer child.
That's one of my
hit me back in a few years.
That's one of the first things I remember being on TikTok maybe 3 years ago, is how I never show the temple clothes or anything like that on my TikTok, but so many people would be making videos about that, responding to teenagers and stuff. And I made a video a couple of weeks ago that did pretty well on the internet. It's not like Alyssa Grenfell type numbers or anything, but I started the video by saying, like, the number one thing that from being on this app that I can tell it absolutely cracks the most Mormons, especially kids who are about to serve a mission or go through the temple, is when they come face to face with what an actual temple ceremony looks like. And they say, that's not my church. Because that's what I would have said.
Yeah.
Like, that's not my church. That's not recognizable. So to your question about seminary is fun. You get to like have interaction and raise your hand and share opinions.
That's super fair.
And I love scripture mastery, Genesis 39:9. If you want me to recite it right now,
go for it. I have no idea what that scripture is.
Genesis 39:9. There's none greater in this house than I. Neither hath he kept back anything from me, but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do such wickedness and sin against God? That's about Joseph.
That's
and
a total
Potiphar's wife.
Mumbo jumbo. I have no idea.
Did I ramble too fast through that?
No, I caught it. It's just, I think that since entering the Ex-Mormon space, scripture becomes entire. It's the
What?
Yeah,
Charlie Brown.
Yeah, it's the Charlie Brown voice. Scooby-Doo Charlie Brown.
Well, if you want me to sing it, it actually comes in song form. There's none greater in this house than I. Neither have they kept back anything. This is a real song I learned. Than thee.
Because they always said it's a song.
Thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? And the lesson is basically, if you're working in someone's house, it's not nice to bone their wife, even if they want to. I think that's the message I got across. It's a weird scripture mastery of all the things to pick. Yeah.
Don't bone the wife of your
employer.
Because you might lose your job. I mean, that's just about economics.
Yeah.
It's actually really wise advice. A lot of scriptures, you can't really take that into the real world, but don't bone your employer's wife that's really hard hitting scripture right there.
And that's why I work for myself. I can't.
Do you ever have in your videos people tag Dan McClellan?
No.
Oh, I always have people tagging Dan McClellan. So I'm picturing you quoting the scripture and people in the comments at Dan McClellan.
I'm like singing the song and he's like, let's see it. And he's like, well, it's not actually about the economics of not boning your employer's wife.
I hope she sees this and he stitches it.
So I love seminary. What about you?
You win. You're the righteous one. I think I always viewed seminary as the entry point to being able to get into BYU, because they basically don't accept you to BYU if you haven't completed all 4 years of seminary. They probably do, but it's a real downgrade. So I viewed seminary. I liked seminary, okay, but I got so tired. I am not a morning person. And my mom,
because you did early morning.
I did early morning seminary, and once we moved to Kentucky, my mom was my early morning seminary teacher.
Wow.
So we had a few kids from the ward would come to our house, and I'd walk down the stairs and we'd do early morning seminary with my mom as the teacher. And I think I tried really. It was the same as the temple, where I really wanted to love it. I wanted so badly, but I was so tired and it was so boring. And I've never been.
They didn't have the songs.
I don't know where the songs were. Maybe my mom didn't have access to the CD-ROM on that one, but
it wasn't a CD. I made that up.
You made it up?
Just kidding. I couldn't make up that if I tried. But when I went to UVU, sorry, this is a bonus thing. When I went to UVU, I hated school so much. I thought it was so pointless. I was like, just somebody marry me and impregnate me so I can get this party started, you guys.
I'm sure you've heard of the MRS degree.
Yeah.
That's what you were going for.
Yeah. So I was like, I didn't want to go to BYU. Also, side note, tangent too. This is as a surprise to no one. I also was not smart enough to get into BYU. I failed a lot of math classes and science classes, and you have to take like 4 years of math and science just to get in. And I was like, that's a pipe dream. I was like, I am getting C minuses in this right now. Yeah. I was really just into learning about the gospel. I thought at one point I wanted to be a seminary teacher. So I took like let me start over. I took each semester that I was there for 2 semesters at UVU. I took a total of 4 institute classes, and I took a total of 2 actual classes at UVU.
Okay.
So
sounds pretty righteous.
But
But we're talking about seminary, which you were also more righteous on. So
All right, I win.
clarified that I was the one typing up this list and you were shooting off things to add. So this is one I already know the answer to, so I kind of made it so that I would win. It's, did you serve a mission?
No, I just served a mission for the cause of marriage.
But you do have 3 kids. That's more righteous than me.
Yeah.
I should have. Okay, should I edit the list to add? Because number of kids is a big righteousness bonus, like indicator.
Yes.
Okay,
Very righteous.
Okay, I'm gonna add that later on down the line. Just to throw you a bone on that one.
I multiplied and replenished the earth a little bit better than you. A little bit more with exactness.
But you didn't serve a mission. I did, but I served a stateside mission, which is not. It's not that right. I mean, I was righteous.
Did you learn a second language?
No, I wasn't even Spanish speaking. English speaking in Denver, Colorado. And the craziest part is my mission boundaries were the suburbs of Denver, Colorado. So I still have never been to the city of Denver, Colorado. I've never been into the city of Denver. I was on the outskirts of the suburbs of Denver. So super lame.
You didn't even get a
mission.
You didn't even get to be the main character in your own mission.
No. Next, okay, let's do an accounting. Right now, we are 1, 2, 3. So I've already won the righteousness on this one.
You've done a really good job with not creating, a prison of sin that the Satan, he gets his ropes and chains around you and binds you down. As your reward for that, if you wanted to look into the hat, I think there might be something about applying prison tattoos. You might have gone down a completely different path and gotten those tattoos out of your own choices to commit crimes, and that might be tattoos that you could actually physically get on your body. But let's see what the hat has to say. Let's see if it has anything that's remotely in that genre.
Okay.
I don't know.
The prison tattoo I should get is that on my knuckles I should have a 4-letter word.
Oh.
Should I see what the 4-letter word is?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it says fuck.
Wow, she's going to get a tattoo of a swear word.
The F-bomb.
On your knuckles for the future, fights that you have to get in or something.
So that they know I'm going to fuck them up.
Yeah. And right here I have some prison tattoos that I found just in case. But you can redeem yourself with a cross, which is now actually pretty much sanctioned by the Mormon Church. You could get a cross, which doesn't show that you are disobeying church. It actually shows that you're obeying the church now, because they actually like crosses. So
we actually didn't. So there's 5 and I already got 3. So I already won, but we have to do number 15, which is, did you ever wear something immodest to a church dance or church event with the attempt or hope of attracting?
No, because I was thinking opposite town. I'm like, anyone who would be attracted to me wearing something that's like not church sanctioned, I don't even want to be with them.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I did do a dance off once at a stake dance.
Did you get low, get low, get low?
And I actually got low. I had this famous move. It's funny. Sorry, I got to take a break from one sin to the other. It's funny because now my signature dance move is a dip that I do enjoy doing on occasion.
Okay.
And my high school favorite move was actually way more scandalous than that. Play Fergalicious.
That's a great song.
Fergalicious and similar songs on Amazon Music.
So my high school dance move was this.
Oh my god.
I would do that, and I won the dance competition with that. This one, YouTube will not like this. I have to cut that out. But of course, we all know Fergalicious definition: make those boys go loco.
Okay, well, I did wear something immodest to a church dance once in an effort to seduce a young man who I was interested in, but I don't think it worked. because he was not interested in me afterwards. Probably because I proved myself to be too loose as a woman, which means you win because you were chaste and I was not.
See, it's almost like you added that in to lose, but I didn't add in any questions about like, did you ever do like stripper moves to Fergalicious on the dance floor at steak dances?
I mean, I guess we could just say that we could change the category to be, did you do, did you ever choose anything that was sinful to do at a church dance? Which sinful being dressing immodestly or dancing immodestly.
I was more righteous.
You did a booty pop in the cultural hall, and I once wore an immodest shirt.
But mine was sanctioned because I like won the dance competition.
Okay, yeah, so. I guess within a dance competition, booty pops are okay. I think sometimes, even at Mormon church dances.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then Alyssa has 0 righteousness points, and Kara has 1. Did you ever sneak coffee or tea growing up?
No, only one time my entire life. My dad was like a salesman and worked shows of like teachers' conferences where they have coffee around. And I just thought it was like a thing, like a taboo thing, but not a bad thing. And I went and got a cup of coffee and I had a full cup of coffee and it wasn't sugared or like nothing was in it. And I was just like, hey, Dad. And I was like, I got some coffee. And my dad was like, no, Kara, that's not even funny. Put that back. And I was like, oops. And I've never ever tried coffee.
So, but did you sip it?
Did you? I think I sipped it, and I remember it was black and dark and disgusting.
Yeah, that's very good for a kid.
Yeah, and then I guess there's one other time. My sister, who left the church, who wasn't Mormon, I lived with her for a summer, and she always got coffee from 7-Eleven, and she had like a peaches and cream coffee every morning.
That sounds a little
and
weird.
I took a sip of it once, and I remember it was so good. And I remember thinking to myself, I better never sip that again because I will get addicted to it. And that's it. All right, your swear word tattoo is now complete and it's ready. Make sure you assemble the letters correctly, English major.
I don't know if I can spell that word correctly.
I just haven't had experience seeing it or saying it or anything.
Okay. So I never had coffee or tea growing up. That was I would have never even joked about it because I would have, we didn't even call our coffee table a coffee table. We would call it the dining room table. Or no, the living room table. Coffee table. So, I think...
Wait, sorry, continue.
So I think I win that one?
Yeah.
What?
Okay, one of my very favorite stories of growing up in Provo, Utah. My 6th grade graduation, we were singing, ironically enough, the song from Rent. It's like basically about all kinds of whoredoms and AIDS and all kinds of things, but that wasn't the problem. We sang the song, and in the part that goes like, how do you measure such and such? And it's like, in cups of coffee, we changed it to cups of cocoa. And so then when I was old enough to really hear how that song
that's so funny.
How that actually went, I was like, that's funny because we're all Mormon kids and with Mormon teachers anyway. I haven't planned anything for the third finale. And final one, so I have to think and get creative here. Do you want to commit a crime?
Let's escalate this to crime committing. Thanks for the baby wipes. I've never put on real tattoos using baby wipes, but this is actually...
Your C's backwards. You fool. You English major. I counted on you. BYU taught you nothing.
Did you follow the garment rules very carefully? And I'll explain. So that means wearing them like as much as possible. So that like during exercise, did you ever change the garment, like rolling up the garment so you could wear a shorter skirt or shorts? Did you roll it a little bit so you could wear a capped sleeve a little bit, or choose your garments depending on the day so that you could get away with something? Because these garments are a little shorter than the other ones.
Absolutely not. And it's one of my biggest regrets in my life. I wish that I would have been more lax with that, but nope. I wore them to exercise. I wore big, baggy, long, like men's. It's just, there's nothing. It's just,
the
frumpiness.
Did you hate yourself?
Yeah.
And I think that really we need to be asking.
Yeah. Like I go exercise.
In garments is gross.
Yeah. Oh. It's very hot and
especially
sweaty.
If you're sweaty, like running in garments.
Yeah.
That's awful.
You were way more athletic than me, I'm guessing. But when I did work out, and I like to play basketball, I'd wear like, basketball shorts, which are, long, but with like a t-shirt, and you don't feel very good about yourself. But I felt like I was doing what was right. So,
Okay.
I always did. And like, I lived in California, I lived by the beach, I lived in Arizona,
I'm so
and I
sorry.
still always wore them. I never rolled them up.
What
I just lived
this
with
is
it.
kind of a side question that I'm curious about. When did you, I know you obviously lost your testimony. When in the losing your testimony phase did you decide, today I'm stopping, like today I will no longer wear garments from now on?
It was February 2019.
You have these dates down.
I do, because I didn't know the church was like false. I didn't like read the information about what are ex-Mormons' reasons for leaving the church. That happened July 12th, 2019.
Okay.
But in February, I went on a little ski trip with my friend Lizzie, who I actually did a Mormon Stories episode with, which was fun. And she was a little bit further on her journey than me. And I was just asking her a million questions about like, and she was like drinking by then. And then I was like, wait, are you wearing your garments? And she's like, oh, no. And I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, that's one thing I think I want to test out. How do I feel when I don't wear my garments? Because I was really serious about wearing them, really thinking they were a type of protection. And I even asked her after the ski trip, I was like, where did you buy them from? She's like, anywhere. And I was like,
buy your new underwear from?
Yeah. I like
That's
really
so funny. Where does one go to buy underwear?
I was like, is there like a certain brand or something? Converted from that, because the one thing I love about garments is I love my thighs not touching.
That is
Love
really nice.
that. So
No
I'm still
chafing.
on that. Yeah. So I've never worn like bikini underwear to this
Interesting.
date.
Hot take information.
It's actually not that hot. It's like colored garments, basically.
I do feel like though that's a interesting aspect of leaving the church, especially as a woman, because there are so many different cuts of underwear. So you really have to figure out, okay, I was used to having my underwear go to my knees. So if my underwear is, it could be a thong, it could be like grandma underwear, it could be somewhere in between, how much of your cheek is showing, it could be the MeUndies, like boy shorts, briefs.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of optionality. So I think
you have to really experiment.
Yeah. I definitely went through that. I feel like the first time I started wearing normal underwear, though, I was very relieved because I really hated garments. And you wore them so much longer than me.
11 years.
11 years. That's so long.
How long did you wear garments for?
Only I guess so. My mission, and then 3.5 years.
That's nothing.
That's still a long time. I mean, years is a long
blank.
time, but by comparison,
I wore garments for 11 years. People don't know how Mormon I was. I was pretty Mormon that I am neck and neck
I
with
do think we need
the author of How to Leave Mormonism, the expert on Mormonism, you could say in some ways. So we're neck and neck. I was pretty Mormon if we are so close here.
Yeah, I think in years spent, you win hands down, obviously. Oh, I would definitely, if I had an outfit that needed a certain, the mesh garments would ride up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Or like the sleeve would fold over a bit. So I never really liked my garments that much. And so I would kind of skirt around some of the rules. I never would just not wear them, but I would say if I'm wearing them, that's enough, even if I'm not wearing them perfectly. So, and I would definitely not wear them to exercise. Oh, I'm so sorry.
I really sacrificed.
Condolences.
Yeah. I believed in the church and the blessings that garments gave me, even if I just like gave up in a way, as you do sometimes, where you're just like, and I'm married now and I wear clothes that I don't feel pretty or sexy or happy in whatsoever, and you just live with it.
But this question is, did you pay on the gross or net tithing? So did you pay pre-tax or post-tax tithing to the church?
So before I was married, I didn't know anything about taxes. I'm sure the IRS has still got problems with me. I didn't know how money worked. And I just, whatever paycheck I got, what money I had from that paycheck, I was really strict with paying my tithing on whatever my paycheck was.
Okay.
And I still, you couldn't even ask me right now what that was. I don't know. It takes out Social Security. And I don't know at the end of the year, whatever my forms were. So I took it out of my paycheck before I got married. And then after I got married, my husband was like much more strict with only paying like the right amount, but the least amount.
Okay. which is the smartest amount because
I mean, the smartest amount is no money, but yeah.
yeah, that's true. My mom always taught us to pay on the gross instead of the net, so pre-tax, which really became like to me growing up a proof of how righteous I was, which is why it was so important to me because I feel like my mom drilled it into us so much, and she basically taught it to us as uh, the government doesn't pay tithing. So if you pay, if you pay the government first, you're paying the government before you're paying the Lord. And so you're showing that you love the government more than you love the Lord.
That literally logically doesn't stand out though, because it's not on your increase of how much, because the law of tithing was originally supposed to be like on what your increase is.
That's true, your personal increase.
And you're not being increased by that money.
Did you pay tithing on gift money?
No, because if the person, that's actually a funny question. People don't realize that, because if the person was Mormon who was giving me the money,
they
already tithed on that money.
So would you tithe money that was given to you by a non-member?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Like I would have bosses who would give me Christmas bonuses, and that one sucked because it'd be like, a couple $100, but I would tithe on that money so I could like sanctify it, right?
Wow. I would always tithe on everything, tithing money or gift money, everything got tithed.
Did you put in the question about if
some missionaries would tithe on their missionary fund money?
No.
And I was one of them. So, but the thing is, it goes onto a card. So this is not cash. You're getting like a prepaid card. So what I would do is I would get my missionary money on my prepaid card. I think for me, it was like $100 a month, 110, which is not enough to live on for a whole month. And then I would go to my personal account, my personal checking account, and I would take the 10 or whatever month. I would tithe on my mission money from my personal account.
They have no money to live on up already.
I
It
know,
is stretched outrageously thin. That's horrible.
Yeah, I was a hyper tither. I was so into tithing, and I really viewed it as just such a, like, I would skirt the rules on garments, but I would never skirt the rules on tithing. So,
yeah, because it kind of felt like an easy one to me, because I was a nanny, and I looked at it as like insurance from God, because thankfully nothing bad ever happened. I was a career nanny for 8 years, and I'm so grateful that nothing bad ever happened. No kids ever got like hurt or injured. And I literally viewed my tithing money as like the insurance that we would all be safe. So you're welcome, parents, for Mormon God protecting your kids when I did all I could.
Yeah, tithing I just feel like such a messed up. Like, especially now that it's so clear that the church has so much money. And how many times growing up that was like, we can't spend money on that, or members need to bring their own food, or like members need to clean the church building. I can't believe that they have so much money. It's totally wild. Okay, how did your family observe that? We have 2 questions left. How did your family observe the Sabbath?
I'm grateful to say that we weren't one of those families that had to keep our church clothes on. Those families were weird. But definitely always went to church. Sundays, no eating out.
And did you go to church on vacation?
Yes.
Did you go to all 3 hours on vacation?
A lot of times, yes. And the reason mostly is that my dad is a very like talkative extrovert guy, and he just wants to
It wasn't necessarily about the righteousness.
Yeah, it was because my dad just wants to go talk to new people in a new place.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
did you go out to eat on Sunday?
Never, unless it was like rare occasions on vacation. But it was really structured when we went on vacation to like find the chapel building.
Shopping the day before for sure to make sure we'd have food on the day of.
Yeah. So what about when you were married though? Did you ever break the Sabbath?
So my husband was, as I've said, like had very lax rules around a lot of things. So he would always say the ox is in the mire.
Oh yeah.
And say we should just go out to eat. So when we first got married, I would say, no, I don't want to go out to eat. I would keep my originally, my family I was born into standard. And then we would occasionally go out to eat if we just didn't really have any food at home. But then as soon as we left the church, I was like, breakfast, lunch, and dinner on Sunday. Let's eat out, because it was like almost like a fun badge of
Wow.
honor to be like, we're gonna eat out all the time on Sunday.
It kind of feels like when you're skipping school in high school or something, and you're like, so this is what everyone's doing at like 2:15 on a Wednesday. It's like, so this is what Sundays out in the city are like. And you're like, this is great. They really call it a second Saturday for a reason. Like, it's a
so
whole
nice.
extra day. Because Sundays are really stressful for a lot of reasons with church and callings and stuff, but they're also really stressful to make sure that you have enough gas in your car and that you have all the food that you need. And then if you have something that's coming up that week that you just, that
you
day.
have to do it Saturday instead of Sunday.
Yeah, it feels like a waste of a day sometimes.
When I was working full time as a teacher, and then I had Sunday, it means that of your 7 days, you only have one true day off. And I would hate Sundays, because it was like, you have a job, you already have a full-time job, but then you also still have another job on top of your job of your calling at church.
Mm-hmm.
I hated Sundays when I was working full-time, because really Saturday is the only day you get to enjoy. It sucked.
Exactly. And I know when I was Mormon, I really tried to lean into like, it's a family day, it's a day for scripture study and stuff. But like, realistically, I don't think anyone really uses it for what the church tells us to use it for like all of that stuff. Because I was like, no, we're literally exhausted. We want to watch TV. We want to just be left alone.
Everybody, I feel like it's funny when Mormons talk about how much they love their Sunday naps, because I'm like, the reason you love your Sunday nap is because you're so exhausted. And it's like, what's the best part of Sunday? The nap. It's like, I wonder why. It's not church.
Mm-hmm.
It's the nap, because everybody's so tired and they're like, I need to escape from the Sunday by napping for 3 hours long.
Yeah. I'm like, it's nice to set aside a certain day to spend time with your family and like family evening kind of stuff. I wish I did that more.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, it just feels like way too restrictive. And again, like you feel like you're going to be blessed or not blessed on how you show up on Sundays and stuff. I'm like, when you take that kind of autonomy of how you spend your time and your weeks back into your own hands and spend time with your family in the ways that you want to, because like it shouldn't be a sign of righteousness or unrighteousness on what even your activities you are doing on Sunday with your family are. Like I know a family that like went four-wheeling on the Sabbath, and it was a hot goss around the ward,
Yeah, isn't that, I kind of forget sometimes about some of the weird intricacies of Mormonism, like the idea of like going to a sporting event on a Sunday is wrong, or doing an activity that's too raucous, like four-wheeling. Like, what is wrong with four-wheeling, and yet that is so unholy to do on a Sunday. Or even traveling on Sunday. We try to avoid driving too long in the car on Sunday. And none of these things are really explicitly laid out. It's just inferred that since it's a day of the Lord, you're supposed to be as righteous as possible.
Yeah, and that camp that I mentioned that I worked at, the very first Sunday that I was there, before the kids arrived, all the counselors took their day off on us on the first Sunday. Everyone had a day off during like training, and they all went to Six Flags.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, will anyone drive me into town and take me to church? And I did. And I was like, that's how I show my righteousness, that I'm actually not going to go to Six Flags. I'm going to still go to church. But it was a sign from God, because I got driven all the way to church, and it was the one day that it was actually state conference and no one was at the church. So I had to sit in the car. Yeah. And then that's why the sinning started, because I was like, that's what God wanted. He wasn't there for me when I went to the church. So anyway.
Yeah, I kind of hated Sundays growing up. But it sounds like our families had fairly similar rules. Could you watch TV at all?
For sure.
I was not allowed to watch TV. I could only watch church approved movies, like stuff produced by the church, like the First Vision, or they have their whole little production company, so I could watch those.
All right, you're more righteous. You win that
one. Okay. Number 20.
Last one.
How many kids did you have?
Oh, I bore 3 children to my faithful husband, Aaron, that was married to me in the temple. 3 cherubims.
And all 3 were born in the covenant, right? I guess 2 of the 3 were born in the covenant.
Yeah. Callahan was.
And did you baptize your first?
No way. That was actually really part of the whole breakdown. Is my husband was doubting the church earlier than I was. And I think, I don't know how old my oldest daughter would have been, maybe like 5.
Okay.
And
you were approaching baptismal age.
Yeah. And when he started being serious about his doubts, I remember This is where our bed used to be, right here. I was sitting exactly right here in this room, and I remember bawling. And I was like, "Well, are you going to baptize her? Like, what are we?" And he's like, "No, like I don't even know if I want to get her baptized." And I was like, that all of this breakdown of like my whole world came crashing down in that moment, because you marry this righteous priest holder in the temple, he leads your family, and like things are not perfect and that stuff, but like, wait a second, my kids have to get baptized by their father. No. And that's, I think, where I kind of took like his concern seriously and like my concern seriously, because I can't get my daughter baptized by somebody who's not her dad, and I had to really think through all of that. So no.
Dang, I can't believe you had to face that.
I cried so hard. I bawled. I was so sad.
Add up the final tally of points. Oh, because I only had 2 kids.
Oh, yeah, we forgot it. Okay, wait. Yeah, say that again.
So we were 3v2. I have 2 boys, and you have 2 girls, 1 boy.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm less righteous, and none of my kids were born in the covenant.
Mm-mm.
I guess I still had my name on the records for my first, but I had to removed by the second. So I was further out by the time I had the kids. So
I was Mormon for much longer. Apparently obeyed the word of wisdom by not eating meat for a solid 11 years.
True.
I wore the garments very faithfully every day, and tried my absolute best to only watch the sex scenes of R-rated movies and not the entire movie. Just, that's the only scenes that I watched.
Well, would you like to hear our final tally? Drum roll. Is Carah has 9 righteousness points and Alyssa has 11 righteousness points, but also Carah was in the church for 11 years. So, but I served a mission. I don't know if this
you're actually really righteous, because I couldn't have served a mission. When I was listening to Mormon stories, there's so many things where I was like, I would have went home. I would just be like, when you're talking about like living with a hoarder in your episode and living with a couple fighting and stuff, I'd be like, I don't believe that I should be here anymore, and I would go home. So I would have left the mission if I were you. Even if I was the most Mormon in the world, I would have left. So you stuck it out.
I think it's a coin toss. I think we should both look in the hat and ask the hat what we should do to make ourselves as evil as possible, because I think we both are still filled with too much righteousness.
Oh, I have one, and it's for the surprise one. I don't think it's going to be fun for either of us.
Is it going to be that we're going to eat pizza?
One final shot, but it's going to be a big one, and it's going to be not fun for either of us. It's going to burn going down, just like sin does. It's going to be the entire hat. Glug, glug, glug.
Okay, glug out of the hat. Yeah. Okay. I don't even think we have enough vodka to glug out of the hat.
Oh, I have a whole case of 5 husbands vodka. No. So inside my Nuancehoe brand mug that you can get from the merch store. I'm doing a plug, kids. Watch out. You can also pick up one of these mugs or t-shirts. Links below. This is actually vodka, right? It's not just water.
It is. It is actually vodka. I witnessed it myself. I will be one of the witnesses.
Thank you. So cheers.
Cheers. Here's to being Mormon and righteous.
And who can ever make absolutely no faces, because we're just strong, badass women.
I'm definitely going to make a face.
No, I'm not. Oh, it went to my nose.
You made a face.
I couldn't help it. The gas is released into your nostrils and in your eyeballs. I hate it. It's just the worst.
I take it all back. I want to be more.
Literally, I have a tweet that says that, where I was like, 1 tequila shot. And I'm like, Mormonism again, please. Well, I'm thoroughly disappointed in Mormonism. I'm thoroughly disappointed in what Ex-Mormonism gives us. I don't like either sides of it, Alyssa. What do you do with me now?
Take me off the planet. My suggestion at this point, if you're feeling this way, if you're feeling lost and alone, is to buy my book.
This one?
How to Leave the Mormon Church, because it will teach you how to drink responsibly and not take shots very with quick concession. I'm gonna need a second. If you've recently left the church and you have questions like, should I leave the church or not now that I've lost my testimony? How do I tell my friends and family? What new beliefs or frameworks are worth investigating? How can I protect my mental health during the transition? If these are the types of questions you have, and if you were raised in a hyper-religious family like Kara or I do suggest you give my book a try because it might help you be able to, like us, laugh and joke about things that once felt sacred and secret, and move on past Mormonism, past ex-Mormonism, and on to a brilliant and beautiful new life that's ahead of you.
I think that is actually, the book itself is already fantastic, but the endorsement of this activity that we've done together today could not spell it out better, that you can leave the Mormon church and not have to have so much just sadness and trauma.
It's not all doom and gloom. It can
not.
be fun, it can be funny, it can be silly to look back on all these crazy things your family used to do. I don't need that in my life anymore. I got my FUCK tattoo, and everything is going to be really good. And we are sending you a virtual hug through the computer if you're going through a faith transition right now, because it's very difficult and you deserve a hug, and we're proud of you.
I think that I'm really proud of anyone who also got an FUCK tattoo and did the shots with us, because
I hope that someone was following along and taking their own notes, and I hope there's someone out there that beat both of us and was even more Mormon. Actually, I don't wish that for anyone.
I hope if you're more Mormon than both of us right now, that you are just as happy and elated to be out of the church
and go get therapy.
Well, Alyssa, what a fun evening we've had together. We've been through some highs of highs, some lows.
I learned so much about you. This is, if you didn't know, this is my first time meeting Kara. It's her first time meeting me, so we learned a lot about each other tonight.
I binged all of Alyssa's content from Mormon Stories the last couple of days. So Marty, she came to my house and I said, "Hello, friend, get in here. I've already learned your entire life story. Let's sit down, pour the drinks, continue." So what a fun evening we've had.
Yeah.
Please go and pick up Alyssa's book from Amazon and other book retailers wherever books are selling it, and leave a positive Amazon review.
Please give me 5 stars, but only an honest review. I would like an honest review, but if you see a active member review bombing my book, please at least report it, because it really makes me depressed to work on a book for 2 years only to see a 1-star review from an active member who for sure has never read the book, but is just angry that it exists and is using that 1-star button to voice their little opinion. So
yeah, kick them to the curb. They didn't even read it or leave the church. They haven't done any of the hard work. They just have strong opinions. Get out of here. It's exactly how I feel about the hard work that we put into this video by talking about our experiences and getting a little bit tipsy while doing it. A lot of hard work went into this podcast. So leave only the best comments in the comment section.
Yeah, and if you see in the comment section, similarly, an active member saying, "This is very disrespectful," I hope you find their home address and send them an angry package full of
this book
excrements. Or this book.
Send them an angry package full of this book. That's the only way to do it. All right, Alyssa, any other final words? And where can people find you?
Follow me on TikTok or YouTube. Those are the main places I'm hanging out these days. And of course, I think if you've left the church and you feel like it's mostly in your past, I do think the book could still be helpful for you. Part 2 is all about a much longer term version of leaving behind the church. And if not, buy it so that someday when your mom or dad or sibling or close friend or all of the many people who are invariably still Mormon in your life can someday hopefully get it as a sign of hope for your friends who are still in the church.
You're a very articulate person, very thoughtful researcher, and I've only been able to kind of skim the book, but from listening to the Mormon Stories episodes yesterday, and John DeLynn wrote the foreword and Margie read it, and they just had so many good endorsements of the book, so I'm excited to read it. And as somebody who's been out of the church for 4 years, I I can already tell that I will get a lot out of reading it, and not just the references to how to order coffee, which I have yet to actually be able to be perfected in. It's just better to be on the safe side of just doing the thing called buying Alyssa's book instead of not doing it.
Be on the safe side. Choose the safe thing in your life. This is like putting your seatbelt on instead of just driving without a seatbelt.
How much fun it is to take your life back, be able to do things, be able to make mistakes, learn from them, grow, try to love people better, and how fun it is to kind of look back at the things that you put up with in your life and then say, oh, I see the conditioning of the reasons why I was trying to please other people and do those things, and what I was trying to get from God, and what it's like to be able to do things that, are silly, are fun, and you might make mistakes along the way, but that's part of the learning and the growing of the journey. So like I always like to say, don't let somebody else ruin your life. You ruin it for you first. You ruin it for you.
Let it be your ruining.
Yeah.
Very true. And thank you for having me on, Kara.
I'm so happy.
And I have loved getting to know you. And thank you for letting me share my book with your audience.
Yeah. Awesome. I hope that if you ever come back to Utah or ever write another book, we can have more updates. So everybody out there, please follow Alyssa. Please make sure that you are subscribed to her YouTube channel and TikTok. Links will be down below. Of course, you're subscribed to this channel. I have a lot of fun, diverse content coming out. This is on the sillier side. We could have just talked about all the stuff in the book, but you should check out the Mormon stories that I'll link below, where Alyssa talks about all that kind of stuff as well. But I have so much fun content coming out. It started my nonprofit to try to community build in the space, and I've loved the support. So thank you to all of the donors who have helped make this content sustainable and possible for me to make. I have lots of therapists and historians coming on throughout the year. Faith crises are not easy, and it just is so fantastic that I get to be able to do this for a living and try to create this community. So please be kind and nice in the comment section, and I will see you all on the next episode of the Mormon History Hoedown, always available on Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, and on my patreon.com/nuancehoe. All right. Thanks, Alyssa.
Bye.
Love you so much, guys.